In this lesson, we'll be talking about file systems that are related to CDs or CD-ROMs. Now, ISO 9660 specifies the standard file system for CD-ROMs. ISO 9660 is a pretty simple file system. One of the reasons it's really designed to be a simple file system is so that it can be supported by a wide range of operating systems and different types of hardware that would support the CDs. Now, ISO 9660 is the standard, but of course, different operating systems sometimes have extensions to the CD-ROM standard or the ISO 9660 standard. So, for example, Microsoft has the Joliet file system, and that supports files a little bit differently than ISO 9660. So ISO 9660 has an 8.3 format for file names, which is one of the reasons why the Joliet extensions are sort of popular, because Joliet supports long file names. ISO 9660 says you must have 8 characters for the file name and 3 characters for the file extension, and there would be a period separating those 8 characters and those 3 characters. So that's a limitation with ISO 9660, which is one we're less familiar with these days because modern operating systems support long file names. Now, if you want to look up a file in a CD-ROM file system, you probably need to go to the path table, and by you, I don't mean the user. I mean the operating system. When the operating system is looking for a file on a CD-ROM file system, they need to go to the path table. And you can see a description of the path table here, where we've got a length of the directory identifier, extended attribute record length, and then the location of the file. And then we have the directory number of parent directory, and then we have the directory identifier. So we've got the path table, which would need to be traversed in order to find a file. Eventually, though, you'll need a directory record in order to locate any file on the CD-ROM. So here's what a directory entry would look like. And you see all of the different fields here that would be involved in storing information about directories. Now, ISO 9660 specifies a date-time format, and you can see that we've got the number of years as well as the month of the year, and then the day of the month, and then we have hour, minute, second, and finally we store the offset from GMT in 15-minute intervals. So you can see there's searching the path table in order to locate data, and then there's just recursing from the root directory, which you could also do. Now, ISO 9660 does have support for a boot sector, and you'll see towards the bottom of this page, El Torito is actually the standard for creating bootable CD-ROMs. Now, the interesting thing about CDs and CD-ROMs is roughly 2/3 of the data that gets written out to a CD-ROM drive is all about error correction and control. So only about 1/3 of the data that actually lives on the CD once it's been burned is actually useful data from a user perspective. The rest of it all makes sure that the data that's there is complete, consistent, and reliable. So we've got ISO 9660. There's also the Joliet file system, which is something that Microsoft uses, which is a pretty common one, actually, that you will see used. And sometimes it's kind of a hybrid where there's ISO 9660 with Joliet on top of it. So depending on what operating system you are using, you'll either pick up the ISO 9660 component or you'll pick up the Joliet component. So those are a couple of the types of file systems that you will run across on CD-ROMs.